The Reconquista refers to a pivotal series of campaigns in the Iberian Peninsula, where Christian kingdoms aim to reclaim territory lost to Muslim rule over several centuries. This movement, spanning from the early 8th century to 1492, was more than just military conquest. It was a complex social, cultural, and religious endeavor deeply ingrained in European history. Its significance in relation to the topic 1212, the day the Reconquista Roared, is monumental, as it culminates in events that significantly shaped the dynamics of medieval Europe. The significance of the Reconquista lies in its profound impact on reshaping the Iberian Peninsula, not just politically, but culturally and religiously as well. By 1212, a key moment in this long struggle becomes pronounced with the Battle of Las Navas de Tolosa, where a united front of Christian forces defeated the Almohad Caliphate, dramatically tilting the scales of power and marking a decisive turning point in the Reconquista. To illustrate this further, consider the capture of Toledo in 1085. As a central cultural and intellectual hub, its fall fostered the exchange of knowledge between Muslim, Christian, and Jewish cultures, impacting European intellectual history profoundly, aiding the transmission of classical and Muslim knowledge, which would later fuel the Renaissance. Another example is the capture of Córdoba in 1236, signaling further Christian dominance and leading to the Christianization of its rich cultural heritage. Support for the Reconquista often revolves around viewing it as a necessary reclamation of Christian lands, a process that helped forge a distinct European Christian identity. However, this perspective isn't universally held. Critics highlight the Reconquista's deeply entwined themes of conflict, intolerance, and religious exclusion, particularly the forced conversions and expulsion of Muslims and Jews in the later stages. Controversy does exist within the narrative of the Reconquista. Debates often arise regarding the portrayal of Muslim rule in Iberia, between the binaries of oppressive conquest and an era of cultural flourishing. Alternative viewpoints celebrate the Islamic contributions to science, architecture, and philosophy during their rule, suggesting that the Reconquista resulted in significant cultural loss. The Reconquista is interconnected with broader historical currents, influencing the Crusades and even the Age of Exploration. The spirit and strategies honed during this period were pivotal as Christian kingdoms expanded beyond Europe, notably the 1492 capture of Granada, coinciding with Christopher Columbus's voyage, ushering Europe's expansions into the New World. In essence, understanding the Reconquista, and particularly its seminal moments, is crucial to understanding how 1212 set the stage for significant religious and cultural transformations in Spain and beyond, establishing a foundation for European developments that echo through history. The historical context leading to 1212, particularly the Battle of Las Navas de Tolosa, is pivotal in understanding the Reconquista, the centuries-long struggle to reclaim Iberian territories from Muslim rule. By 1212, the Christian kingdoms in the north of the Iberian Peninsula had been engaged in intermittent warfare with the Muslim-ruled Al-Andalus in the south. This era was characterized by shifting alliances and frequent military campaigns, emblematic of the complex socio-political dynamics of medieval Spain. The Reconquista, in essence, was not just a religious struggle but also a quest for territorial expansion, wealth, and power. The significance of this period lies in its culmination in the Battle of Las Navas de Tolosa on July 16, 1212. This battle marked a turning point in the Reconquista, breaking the might of the Almohad Caliphate, which at the time was a formidable Muslim power in the region. This victory allowed Christian forces to reclaim significant portions of land and paved the way for further advancements, eventually leading to the fall of Granada in 1492. Thus, the events leading to 1212 are crucial in understanding the tactical and moral shifts that enabled the Christian coalition to gain the upper hand. One tangible example of this context was the strategic alliance among the kingdoms of Castile, Aragon, and Navarre, which symbolized a rare unity among the often fractious Christian states, facilitating a formidable military force against the Almohads. Another example was the role of religious zeal and papal encouragement, which framed the conflict as a crusade, thus fostering a heightened sense of purpose among Christian warriors and attracting knights from across Europe. Supporting opinions suggest that these conflicts, while often brutal, fostered the development of a more cohesive Christian identity in Iberia. However, some historians argue that the notion of a unified Reconquista oversimplifies the myriad of local and regional motivations involved. Controversies also arise around the treatment of conquered peoples and the enduring legacy of religious intolerance that persisted long after the conclusion of the Reconquista. In conclusion, the historical context leading up to 1212 is not just about military conquest. It reflects the complex interplay of religion, politics, and cultural identity, which continues to influence modern perceptions of the period. Understanding this background provides crucial insights into the driving forces of the Reconquista, underscoring the interconnectedness of European and Islamic histories during the Middle Ages. The heading Key Figures and Leaders, Christian and Muslim Forces, pertains to the prominent individuals who played crucial roles during the Reconquista, particularly around the pivotal year 1212. The Reconquista was a series of campaigns by Christian states to recapture territory taken by Muslims on the Iberian Peninsula. The involvement and strategies of key figures and leaders were instrumental in shaping the outcomes of these efforts. The importance of this point to the main topic lies in the decisive Battle of Las Navas de Tolosa in 1212, which marked a turning point in the Reconquista. Key leaders such as King Alfonso VIII of Castile and Muhammad al-Nasir, the Almohad Caliphate, were significant figures in this battle. Their leadership and decisions not only impacted the immediate outcomes, but also influenced the political and cultural landscape of the Iberian Peninsula for centuries. Alfonso VIII's ability to unify various Christian forces for a common cause demonstrated superior diplomacy and strategic vision. Meanwhile, al-Nasir's defeat underscored the vulnerabilities that Muslim forces faced at the time. A specific example illustrating this point is the coalition led by Alfonso VIII, which included troops from Leon, Navarre, and Aragon, as well as international support from knights from across Europe. This unity showcased the importance of strategic alliances in warfare. Another example is the command of Muhammad al-Nasir, whose efforts to consolidate Muslim forces in Spain represented the complex dynamics of leadership and allegiances in the face of external threats. Supporters of the idea that leadership was crucial during the Reconquista argue that the ability of leaders to inspire and mobilize forces was a decisive factor in the success or failure of military campaigns. However, there are controversies and alternative viewpoints regarding the effectiveness of such leadership. Some argue that local power struggles and betrayals within both Christian and Muslim factions were equally significant, and that these internal conflicts weakened the Muslim resistance more than any external Christian pressure. This concept of leadership intertwines with other aspects of the Reconquista, such as religious fervor and cultural shifts. The leaders not only directed military actions, but also shaped the ideological narratives that justified these campaigns. Their legacies influenced the socio-political development of the Iberian Peninsula, affecting relations between Christians and Muslims long after the battles had ended. Understanding the role of these key figures provides insight into the complex interplay of military, religious, and cultural factors that defined the Reconquista era. The Battle of Las Navas de Tolosa, which occurred on July 16, 1212, stands as a critical turning point in the centuries-long Reconquista, the Christian effort to reclaim the Iberian Peninsula from Muslim rule. This battle marked a monumental shift in power, as a coalition of Christian forces from Castile, Aragon, Navarre, and Portugal decisively defeated the Almohad Caliphate, a powerful Muslim dynasty that had dominated the region. The significance of this battle lies in its strategic impact on the Reconquista. It effectively opened the gateway for Christian forces to push further south, eventually leading to the capture of major cities like Seville and Cordoba over the subsequent decades. The victory at Las Navas de Tolosa not only shattered the military might of the Almohads, but also symbolized a unification of Christian kingdoms, often fractured by internal disputes, under a common religious and political cause. This unity, albeit temporary, demonstrated the potential of Christian cooperation against a more formidable opponent. One example illustrating this point is the immediate aftermath of the battle, which saw a surge in Christian morale and territorial gains, shifting the momentum definitively in their favor. In a real-world application, the battle underscored the role of alliances in warfare, showing how internal unity could overcome an otherwise dominant enemy, a lesson that resonates in military strategies throughout history. Another example is the subsequent decline of the Almohad influence, which catalyzed the weakening of other Muslim factions in the region, allowing Christian forces to reclaim large areas with relatively less resistance. Supporters of this idea often regard the battle as a cornerstone of Spanish national identity, celebrating it as a pivotal moment in the historical narrative of Christian resurgence. However, there are alternative viewpoints that challenge this heroic narrative, arguing that the Reconquista was not just a religious war, but also a series of complex socio-political conflicts. Some historians critique the romanticization of the Reconquista, emphasizing the detrimental impacts on the Muslim and Jewish populations of the Iberian Peninsula. This battle's influence extends beyond the immediate military victory, as it catalyzed the decline of Muslim states in Iberia, ultimately contributing to the unified Spanish crown by the late 15th century. It also set the stage for religious tensions that would influence global affairs in the following centuries. In essence, the Battle of Las Navas de Tolosa was not merely a medieval skirmish, but a decisive event that reshaped the trajectory of Spanish history and altered the course of the Reconquista.